Good evening to all of you, and a very warm welcome to Dr. Arup Sengupta, who will be delivering us the fifth talk on Paani Pe Charcha, the Clean Water Talks. These clean water talks are being held under the SEVA program of USAID, Sustainable Enterprises for Water and Health, a program which brings the entire small water enterprise sector together so that they can come together for the scale up of affordable and safe drinking water. I am from Safe Water Network. Safe Water Network is an international NGO headquartered in New York with its offices in India and Ghana. We are currently implementing the USAID project, and along with me is my co-host, Mr. Anand Rudra. Mr. Anand Rudra is a wash sector specialist from USAID with over 30 years of experience in water, sanitation, and hygiene. He leads the India office and also works with the Southeast Asia USAID missions. Safe Water Network brings three core functions to the sector, and they are field demonstrations for learning affordable technologies, policy and advocacy to influence evidence-based recommendations for the scale-up, and building the alliance together for cross-learning and knowledge generation. Mr. Anand Rudra, may I request you to address the forum?
Thank you so much for inviting me to this very interesting series of water champions sharing their institutional knowledge, technologies, and other things, which I think is a great boon for us, particularly people who are not just in the development sector, but beyond. So best wishes to the SEVA team for continuing that stream of these elite gems, as I speak, in the water sector. And thank you so much, Arup, for joining us from the distant shows. I think the timing is something which was a little challenge, but I'm glad that it worked out for everybody. And thank you so much for host. I think, yeah, so I think amazing that all the teams are taking the responsibility of continuing putting together these gems of water champions. And pause here, USAID is proud to partner in this effort. We are glad to be a part of the roadmap. Look forward to everybody will benefit and basically take the words of wisdom as is heard during this session. Thank you so much. Congratulations to everybody for hosting this series of water talks from the champions.
Thank you, Anand Rudraji. Let me introduce our key speaker, Dr. Arup Sengupta. Dr. Arup Sengupta is a chemical engineer by profession, and he is at Leh University, US for over 25 years. He has expertise on groundwater remediation, technologies development, and he has a non-for-profit Tagore Sengupta Foundation. He is a highly acclaimed and cited scholar with over 75 publications and 9 patents. Dr. Sengupta is a 2011 Fulbright scholar and is the inventor of the Drinkwells technology, which you'll be hearing about today. Drinkwell has under its foundation installed more than 200 community water-operated arsenic remediation plants across India and Southeast Asia, providing safe water access to over 200,000 people. Drinkwell has partnered with Tata Trust, Clinton Health Across Access Initiatives, World Bank, and others. The solution, which is hybrid ion exchange nanotechnology, which we'll be discussing today, is a patented reusable resin technology that recovers 90% of water and is a great boon, especially in the time of water crisis, where other technologies are yielding a lot of water. Working in India in the states of West Bengal, Assam, Bihar, and they are working in the public-private partnership mode with the PhD departments. So welcome, Dr. Arup Sengupta, and over to you.
Bangladesh is a country that has half the size of the US in an area that's the size of Iowa. It also is unfortunately home to the most arsenic contaminated aquifers, where people collect their groundwater for drinking. And no one really had any reason to suspect that there was arsenic in the aquifers until there was a massive case of what was then perceived to be leprosy. The World Health Organization then did a study and found that what was happening in Bangladesh was the largest mass poisoning in human history. That's when I went on this journey of doing a Fulbright, where I actually met Dr. Arup Sengupta, the inventor of Drinkwell's technology.
There are 2 units here, you know that, right?
At that time, his technology was focused on arsenic removal, specific to West Bengal and India.
We created first a reusable arsenic selective adsorbent. The arsenic has been removed from the water.
So we figured out, what is the value chain going to look like when it comes to how we provide safe water to those that need it most. Drinkwell is a social enterprise that's looking to transform the global water crisis into entrepreneurial opportunity. We manufacture resins that remove the arsenic from the groundwater, and we sell those to local entrepreneurs who build a business around providing safe water.
In the next 10 years, we'll have close to 5,000 water entrepreneurs across the world. 10 years' time, you have millions of people who are getting impacted by this initiative.
Every child should be able to drink clean water. We need our young people healthy for their futures.
VentureWell was critical because they were the first money in while the technology was still being developed at Lehigh University. Had that funding not come in, who knows if this technology could have ever come out of the lab.
This is a kind of a headline news in New York Times. It's 1998, and I got involved in this arsenic crisis in 1995. And this New York Times branded this crisis as the #1 natural calamity of our time. People dying and suffering from arsenic-related health crises, primarily in Bangladesh and then in West Bengal. And then it also went over to Bihar, UP, and other states, and also in Southeast Asia, where also we worked, including Cambodia. So this is in the beginning how we started. And this is, you can see, in 2006, about 15 years ago. And many graduate students from Lehigh and other places have been involved. Some of the academic institutions in India have also been involved. In fact, one of the co-founders, the company was founded in my lab, Mike German. He was also a graduate student, and later he received his PhD, from Lehigh University. This is the material we developed. I'll spend, since most of the other slides, have been withdrawn, I'll kind of go through a minute to explain what is the driver, or what is the story behind developing this material. Up until that time, between 95 and kind of 98, 2000, I used to travel extensively in arsenic-affected areas. And what I found is people are normally using what is called activated alumina, or an imported material called GFH, granulated ferric hydroxide. Regardless of their ability to remove arsenic, this material were not very durable or mechanically strong. In other words, after 1 or 2 usage at the most, they have to be thrown away and they have to be replenished with new material, and which is very difficult. And it also created some kind of a environmental problem, because those arsenic contaminated materials or arsenic loaded materials now have to be disposed of. So that gave idea to the research area that can we create a material which can be regenerated and reused for tens of cycles, so that the villagers, once supplied with these materials, and once they can regenerate it, they do not have to depend on foreign sources or other sources. In other words, supply chain is kind of assured as soon as they get one batch of materials. So this material you see here, these are essentially some kind of a polymeric ion exchanger or beads, which are very robust. So we found a way of introducing iron oxide nanoparticles inside them. Obviously, this is a US patent. There are two different companies in the United States which commercially manufacture now these materials, and they have been used worldwide. And to my knowledge, more than 2 million people, as I speak, have drunk or continue to drink arsenic-safe water through these materials. One of the primary advantages being, as I said, they can be regenerated and reused. And it is not included in my slide, but we later came up with another version of it for India only, where we replaced iron oxide with zirconium oxide nanoparticles. And that material is currently in use in India to remove fluoride, because fluoride is also a major contaminant in different villages. So that's the background of this. And it took us 7 years. We started in 96, 2003, we first made in the lab 2 grams of these materials. And 2007, we got the patent. And by now, maybe there have been some 20 million grams of these materials have been made all over. This is the one. You can see how it developed. And that's the way we also learn. And we went through some steps, since it is about a small scale. First, we try to apply this material or technology in domestic systems, which we call point of use. But we encountered some insurmountable problems. That is, one being, how do you dispose of arsenic-laden waste from every individual household? And there are economic issues. So basically, we found out that this point of use is probably okay for urban, kind of moderately affluent neighborhoods. But in remote villages, that's very difficult to sustain. They run for 5 months, 6 months, but running them for years, poses different problem. It has to be self-sufficient. So through our work with an NGO there in India and some academic institution, this model developed that we will serve at least 100 to 200 families, like 500 people. It's a community-based system. In other words, community is in charge. There will be villagers committee there, and those committee are kind of strongly encouraged to include female members. And in those places, it has worked very well. And every household will pay a nominal contribution. And you will see some places, and they will be in charge. If a technological help is needed, then our NGO is available there to provide the help. In other words, once installed, that means once the fixed cost has been kind of spent, the villagers are on their own. The ball is in their court. They're the custodians, or they're the owners of this plant. And in many places that has been going on, and that has produced way better result than domestic systems. And they're also responsible for undertaking the expense for regeneration. So this is in Assam, but this came a little later. You can see this is 2017, and all the numbers are there. But by that time, we were quite mature. And that's one of the reasons, Tata wanted to use our technology. And after that, they continue to give us funds for more community-based systems, primarily in Assam, though. And we have installed, I don't know the exact numbers, it is somewhere between 5 and 10, and you can see 200 to 300 households are served, which means about 1,000 people at least, and they collect money close to maybe, in particularly this place, they operate with an ATM card, which means you can prepay for the water. And in all such places, community-based systems, they also lead to local employment. In this particular plant, I know about 1.5 persons are fully employed. They look after the maintenance and operation. So there is an incentive in the affected community. So technology is not just some faceless kind of transportable material. Technology is also like some kind of a mother nature. It feeds and allows the affected community to prosper. First of all, people get safe water. That's one thing. It produces employment, and they also make a little bit of profit with that. They can do, it's an NGO run by an NGO, GVM, Gramin Vikas Poncho. They run schools, they do many other good things. This is a very commendable work, but this is a very recent one. This is the Binimoy Para. This is the one I take a special pride, because this is a very much arsenic affected village in West Bengal, but very close to Bangladesh border. And this is so poor, like there are about 200 families in the village, Binimoy Para. There, in a very short period of time, about 25 people died of cancer. And it is suspected, kind of arsenic is the suspected culprit for that, for those cancers. And they are really poor. And no other NGO was able to solve that problem. We got involved. So it started in 2006, and it is still running, running with kind of intensity. And now it is 2021. So for 15 years, it continues to serve people. The number of households, originally it was hardly 70 or 80 when I took over. But that time, Drinkwell didn't exist, Drinkwell had a previous mother NGO called Technology with a Human Face, okay? And then that led to, that's not for profit. We start Drinkwell is social enterprise, but for profit. Now there are 300 to 500 families served. To my knowledge, 2 people are employed there. So this is very much of a success story, not just of the technology, that community-based systems, probably in villages, provide answers, and the villagers are in charge. They run the system on their own. And this is the first one which gave us, or all other people, requisite confidence. This Drinkwell or WIST was really created out of a grant, a significant grant, which we received from, call it USISTF. This is United States, the State Department, and India's Department of Science and Technology. The reason we got the grant, it is very difficult to get, it's kind of little political, little this, little that. But some people from US Embassy, they came and visited Binimoy Para, saw what is going there with their own eyes, and how it is being sustained with a very viable economic model. That's the reason they ended up giving the fund, and we created the Drinkwell offices in India. And I always tell people who provide technology, the best way to sell technology or to export it somewhere is to create an island of excellence so that people can come, visit, see. That's the best example. And that's exactly what happened. And in other places, people should keep doing things like that, yes, see yourself whether it does work or not. So this is a place of pride for all of us. So these are, again, follow-up works from different kind of places. Since we were already working with Tata Trust, Assam PhD took a lot of interest. Shudip Sarkar took all the initiative. And there, in 4 months' time, we installed close to not close, exactly 175 community-based plants, okay? So we have the ability, or other people can also see that this technology scale up or technology replication, once kind of certain rules are established, fairly easy to do. But at the same time, I must say that here, this is in the PhD, under the umbrella of PhD. Here, we're not involved in creating a villagers committee or something like that. Government is probably going to give the water free of cost, things like that. Okay, this is also a question about scale up. But before that, I want to say that we have taken away some slides. Since it was started anyway, we have a Sengupta Foundation and Technology with a Human Face in India. And again, it is driven by some of the work, done by Tagore himself, near Shantiniketan. This is not limited to India only. We have done a lot of work in Bangladesh. We have installed arsenic removal plants in Cambodia, and they're working very well. So this goes wherever we can solve problem. Coming to scale up, you can see here the size of the plant. That means this technology is something, it can be scaled up, it can be scaled down. Here, the plant capacity is 370,000 liters. That means 370 meter cube per whatever, just convert that per second. But this is a huge plant compared to the others, which you saw. There are two plants, one is blue and at the top, the other is white. It means that this is very flexible, this is fixed bed adsorption. And as somebody pointed out earlier, that we take advantage of 95% of the water, which is withdrawn from underground. That means we do not waste water like RO and many other processes. And that's the key thing. And I believe government is becoming more and more rigid on that, and they should be, because groundwater level is dropping nearly everywhere. So again, this is a testimony to the fact this is not just limited to an application where 200 families in a remote village will be using the treated water. It can be for a huge plant, and eventually it can go to a huge overhead tank. I do not know how many lakhs of people are served, but definitely few lakhs of people in West Bengal are served by these two plants. This is the longest running, in my knowledge, the fluoride plant in the world. Okay, I have worked in Kenya, Ethiopia, when those are fluoride affected areas, and also in India. So this is almost for 5 years through USISTF grant using our HIX Nano technology. It is installed in a very, very poor village, primarily Muslim dominated village in Birbhum. And you can see the bottom part where the school children, little children are drinking fluoride safe water. And the fluoride there to start with was very, very high. It was over 10 milligram per liter. So this is, I take personally pride, because removing fluoride is not easy, has not been easy, and there has not been a real solution around the globe. And this is something, and the guy standing at the top, his name is Safiul Islam. He's a local guy. He looks after the so-called well-being or maintenance of the plant. He's employed, that's kind of his full-time job. And since he's a local guy, the salary is quite reasonable. He got married last year. I attended his wedding just before pandemic broke in and India went under lockdown. And day before yesterday, he sent me a picture that he and his wife are blessed with a beautiful daughter who is just 3 days old, But again, the point I'm making is he is fully employed through this technology, which provides safe water to the villagers. So water crisis is not a crisis. It's also an opportunity to transform that crisis into the well-being of people, creating an employment. And once that's this women empowerment, you know, technology should be used to empower women. In other words, technology should be kind of harnessed. So here is, if you see my the prompter, this is Lipi Begum in North Bengal, you know, near Duars, you know, tea garden area. This is the water these villagers kind of were drinking. She mobilized all these village women, because women are normally kind of caretaker of water. And she was trying to instigate them or encourage them that there is a technology available there, because we installed a plant, you know, 10 miles away from her place, where the water after treatment gets like this. Okay. And Lipi Begum created an organization called Rising Women. And that led to, through our NGO, this plant. They are taking safe water, no iron there. And now, maybe a month ago, the demand became high enough, you know, at the end of a COVID thing, they purchased a vehicle so that they can transport water from here to different places. She is very enterprising. And these Rising Women, these are not very educated women. These are mostly Muslim women, you know, with some Hindu and Adivashis or native people. And she has this vehicle. Now she observes water wastage here. So we are going to transform that into ATM, because in ATM, if you go over to ATM, you pay for every drop of water, you know. So people have to be responsible. So that's how technology kind of not only evolves, goes in different directions to help mankind, you know. So Lipi Begum to me is an extraordinary young lady, and she has transformed the villagers, and she wants to take it to many other villagers in that particular, it's a very, very poor region, very poor. Okay, this is the typical kind of sales thing, that how many organizations have been involved and who have worked with us, and you can see yourself, number should increase, but it is always a tough thing. One slide is missing here. I always include that, since all the people are there from India, you know. Rabindranath Tagore, you know, that was in that slide, in 1932, wrote an essay, short essay, and the title was, Can Science Be Humanized? Can science be humanized? So this is the goal of science and technology, that no matter what you do at the end, it is not just creating knowledge, it's also serving human beings. So that spirit has been part of our work. Now, obviously, I'll be happy to entertain and respond to any questions, inquiries.
So thank you very much, Dr. Arup Sengupta, for this informative session. And I think to all the implementation partners who are attending here, the academia, the NGO, the implementers, and also from the policymakers, this is a very good session. Here we are introduced to the technology, which is water saving, which can be used by the community, which doesn't require for a lot of interventions from other sources once it has been set up. So technology, I feel, is a very good model. And sir, I will now open up the session to various questions, and I would request you to address these questions. The first question, however, is, we heard you speak about this patented technology, which is removing the groundwater contaminants, be it chloride, arsenic, or iron. So, is it removing multi-contaminants from groundwater at the same time? That's the first question. And the second question is, if there is a blend of groundwater and surface water contaminants, primarily microbes, how do we remove it?
Okay, let me take the first one. Multi-contaminant or co-contaminant. So these things vary from place to place. So this is a short talk. I'll tell you what you have encountered and what you have done. First of all, in India, at least in the eastern and northeastern part of India, Bangladesh, and Cambodia, every arsenic contaminated groundwater also contains fairly high amount of iron. Iron is there in every contaminated groundwater. And our every plant is capable of removing arsenic and iron. And in many cases, removing iron is more difficult than removing arsenic. But normally, while talking about it, discussing it, we do not pay much respect to iron because iron doesn't kill people. Arsenic does, okay? But yes, our technology removes iron very much. And that's more important because iron shows color. Arsenic doesn't. And that's why arsenic is more deceptive. It kills people, but it doesn't have any color, odor, taste, okay? That's why it's more dangerous. But iron shows color. So people start objecting, So that has to be part of this process. And we do that every place because there is no way, And so the process or the plant you saw, the large plants, the smaller ones, community-based, all of them have built-in capacity to remove iron to less than, in most of the cases, 0.2 ppm in all the places, okay? But I did not want to get into the details of how do we do that, because in Bangladesh, it can be, we are working in many areas of Bangladesh, it's as high as 15 ppm, okay, as high as. Whereas in UP, Bihar, and West Bengal, it is not that high. But then again, in North Bengal, in Lipi Begum's place, it is extremely high. So our technology does vary, that's one. There are not too many places where arsenic and fluoride are together, but even if it is there, our zirconium-based material can remove both fluoride and arsenic, okay? So that's what they're capable of. The other co-contaminant we have found is, I shouldn't call it contaminant, it's hardness, because some of the waters are groundwaters are very hard. They have a lot of calcium. So they form something like white precipitate. And people object to that because after all, if something looks, milky, nobody's going to drink that water. So we also do that, okay? We know how to take care of that, but it varies from place to place, it's not there every place. Other contaminants, they have to be looked into, like we are trying to work in Punjab where groundwater contains uranium, okay? And in USA, we did it long ago. In California, this HIX nanomaterials can remove both arsenic and uranium together. There's a reason. So I do not know. We are talking about some kind of a trial run. So yes, the point is well taken, but the problem has to be more specific, and only then, in other words, it is not one size fits all, and that's why knowledge is important. And also the salinity. In some cases, the salinity is maybe 800 ppm, salinity means the chloride and other things.
So thank you very much, sir. And how are we using the same technology if there are surface water contaminants, especially the microbes?
Coming to surface water, that's normally for large capacity plant. What we have done to a very limited extent only, because India is very fortunate and blessed that it has huge water. Not that we make good use of the water. We don't do good things, except in places like might be Rajasthan. We have technologies where, say there is a pond kind of full of water, and we have to transform that water into drinking water. And where this question is very pertinent, that there is bacteria, there are other microbes there. Yes, we can do that, we can do that without any problem. We have done that for groundwater also, because some of the shallow groundwaters contain microbes. So our process, we do iron removal in a way, it basically, because we have to test for coliform bacteria and other counts, and that's always absent and satisfies the WHO standard. So that is integrated there. But we can also treat surface water like ponds and other places where that's the only source of water.
Thank you, Dr. Sengupta. There is a question from Dr. TNVV Rao, and his question is the same media used for removal of arsenic, fluoride, and iron, or there are separate medias? And the second question is, when regenerated, how is the waste liquid disposed of? What is the exchange ion in these resins?
No, my first response to first question is no. The media for removing arsenic is not the same as removing okay, that's the challenge. Material can also remove arsenic, but that's more expensive, so that's not what we do. Iron removal is not completely removed by these materials. It is removed only partially, because concentration of iron is much higher than arsenic. Arsenic is there 200 ppb at the most. Iron is there 5 ppm, which means 5,000. So that's where the challenge comes in. But so we have certain things in our process which first removes bulk of the iron. Then this nanotechnology makes sure that all the iron is completely removed. I believe that was the first question. Now, this is the part I already said at the end of my talk. I know there will be questions about that, which is a very fundamental environmental question, that where does the arsenic go? What is its fate? Does it pose any environmental hazard? Does it pose any human health kind of hazard? And we have done a lot of studies, and it's very, again, let me summarize by saying we have published papers devoted solely to this issue to show that we know how to, after regeneration, how to contain arsenic in a safe way, even in a village environment. There are two ways of regeneration. One is in situ, the other one is we take it back and do it at our place. And in every case, arsenic doesn't leach out to the environment. And we have done extensive study to show that nearby groundwater sources were not contaminated by any of these regeneration studies. And again, these studies and works done by us are in the public domain in research papers. If you want to have access to them or want a copy of them, you can send an email to Shudeep or the lady or even myself. I'll be more than happy to provide. And those are interesting things, very interesting things, because this is how to handle a highly hazardous waste. That's a separate field, and this has to be integrated along with this.
So thank you very much for your conversation, Dr. Arup Sengupta, and we are very pleased to know about this technology which brings a low cost, effective, rapid to use solution for one and all, especially in the developing countries and the neighborhood countries of Bangladesh. I heard you speak about Cambodia, and these are very much needed water solutions. So thank you very much for this. And I will now ask Mr. Anand Rudra to speak a few words.
Again, a lovely experience and a great opportunity to hear what we basically heard today. I'm sure, just as we said earlier on, these are resources, human resources, and Arup sir, it was fantastic. We've heard about these issues. We've heard about the way things have been addressed. But the simplicity in which I think you explain, the simplicity in which I think Drinkwell is approaching these things, I think those are lessons. Those are things which we don't read in a paper or a report to say, oh, this is the technology, that's what this will do. There are a lot of these human touches. There are a lot of these gaps which basically till we are there, we are yet not there. We will not understand. So the human experiences, the knowledge that you shared with us, I think that has been real valuable. Again, overall, Poonamji, great choice of speakers as well as resources, which I feel everybody would benefit from beyond just the Seva project. On behalf of USAID, it's been one hell of a great run so far. I'm sure more to come. On behalf of the USAID mission and the water programs of the Government of India, in which Poonamji, you're leading the support, I think these are great add-ons. I think these are things which will be useful and practical, and I think worth replicating. It's just not about addressing the issue of arsenic or elements like that. It's an issue, how do you see yourself, just not about supplying water. Or thank you so much, Poonamji. Thank you so much, Arup sir, and everybody who's been hosting it. And the flavor of the month as I speak, Drinkwell, thank you so much for putting together a great show today.
So thank you, Anandji. Thank you, Dr. Arup Sengupta. My special thanks to Team Drinkwell for all their support, for being a very, very great water knowledge resource partners. We are very pleased that the entire group got to hear about this technology and the benefit it brings, because as Anandji said just now, reading is not equivalent to what you hear, what you see in the video, and what you learn.